Hello everyone, let's learn today general features of the humerus. Now this is humerus, it is forming skeleton of the arm, it is the longest bone of the upper limb, and as you know it is a typical long bone, so it has got an upper end, a lower end and intervening shaft. As it is a typical long bone, again the shaft will be having three borders and three surfaces, right? So let us talk about the general features of the upper end. Now the upper end has got a globular head over here you can see, and it is very smooth and it is having covering of hyaline cartilage which is removed over here, and this will be articulating with the glenoidal cavity of the scapula over here. This is glenoidal cavity, and together will be forming ball and socket variety of synovial joint, right? So this is regarding head of the upper end. Now what is the direction of head? The head is directed, you can see over here from above, the head is directed slightly backward, medially and upward, right? So it is directed upward, slightly backward and medially, right? So this is regarding head. The size is very large as compared to the size of the glenoidal cavity, you can see over here. And next to the head, if you see, there is a continuous line, and this is called as anatomical neck of the humerus, right? Now in the upper end, in front you will find a bony elevation. Over here you can see this is called as lesser tubercle, okay, and laterally you will find another larger bony elevation, and so is the name given to it, greater tubercle, okay. In between these two tubercles you will find a groove. Over here you can see, so this groove is called as intertubercular sulcus, as it is lodging long head of biceps. So another name of this groove is bicipital groove, right? So intertubercular sulcus or bicipital groove lies between two tubercles, and if you see specifically the greater tubercle, it has got three flat impressions from above downward. These are the impressions for muscular attachments, okay. Now if you see the bicipital groove from in front, it has got two lips, lateral lip and medial lip and a floor, right? And beyond, the lips are continuous with the borders of the shaft, right? More importantly, at the upper end, when the upper end is continuous with the shaft, there is a constricted part over here. Now this constriction is vulnerable for fracture, so as it is called as surgical neck of the humerus. Posteriorly, it is related to the axillary nerve. So when the surgical neck gets fractured, there are chances of damage to the axillary nerve also, right? So that is second neck of the humerus. One we have discussed is anatomical neck. The constriction is the surgical neck, and the third neck, it is situated 0.5 centimeter above the surgical neck. Okay, you'll have to draw an imaginary line situated 0.5 centimeter above the surgical neck. That is a site of having epiphyseal plate in developing humerus, right? So that is called as morphological neck, okay, morphological neck. That is a site of epiphyseal plate. As you know, the upper end is growing end for the humerus, so that plate would be the site of growth of the humerus, and the humerus can elongate at that point, right? Once the fusion happens, once the fusion occurs, you can see a continuous bone, but in the young bones you can still see a site of morphological neck, right? There is a gap at the point of morphological neck. Now that is regarding general features of the upper end. If you see the general features of the shaft, right, the shaft in upper half it is rounded, whereas in lower half it is triangular. As it is a typical long bone, it has got three borders and three surfaces, and obviously the lower half of the shaft is triangular, so the borders and surfaces are well demarcated, right? So it has got three borders: anterior border, medial border and lateral border, and it has got three surfaces: anteromedial surface, anterolateral surface, and the posterior surface. So if you see the anterior border, it starts with lateral lip of bicipital groove in the upper third. Then in the middle third, it is bounded by the deltoid tuberosity, and in the lower part it turns rounded and smooth. Okay, so this is anterior border, right? The lateral border is prominent only at the lower end, where it forms lateral supracondylar ridge. Now these are the condyles. So above there is a ridge, so as they are called as supracondylar ridge. Laterally there is lateral supracondylar ridge, right, where the lateral border is prominent, and then it is barely traceable up to the posterior surface of greater tubercle over here. Okay, it becomes faint. So in the lower part only it is clearly visible. As we already discussed, in the lower half the shaft is triangular, so obviously all three borders will be clearly demarcated, right? So here will be the lateral border. If you see the medial border, right, it starts with the medial lip of the bicipital groove, okay, in the upper third. In the middle third, it has got a rough strip which is for the attachment of muscle, and it is continuous below with the medial supracondylar ridge. Okay, medial supracondylar ridge over here you can see, right? So it starts from medial lip of bicipital groove. In the middle third it has got a rough strip, and in the lower part it is continuous as medial supracondylar ridge. Now what are the surfaces? It has got three surfaces. Anteromedial surface, it is a surface situated between anterior border and medial border. The anterolateral surface situated between anterior border and lateral border. And third surface is posterior surface, it is situated between the medial border and lateral borders, right? So three surfaces: anteromedial surface, anterolateral surface, and posterior surface. Now if you see the anterolateral surface, okay, it lies between anterior border and lateral borders. In upper half of this surface it is covered by deltoid over here, right? This is how the deltoid is lying, right? Little above the middle, okay, and this is midpoint, so little above the middle there lies a V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. Now tuberosity is a diffuse, generalized, rough area over here, and it is V-shaped, so it is called as deltoid tuberosity. And beyond the deltoid tuberosity, the radial groove runs downward and forward across the surface, okay, like this, downward and forward like this. The radial groove or spiral groove across the lateral surface below deltoid tuberosity. Okay. The anteromedial surface lies between anterior and medial border over here. In its upper third, it is narrow and it is forming floor of bicipital groove. Right. There is a nutrient foramen, it is seen on the surface in the middle near the medial border. Now over here you can see a nutrient foramen, right, near the medial border in the mid part, and you can see the direction is downward, and so as the upper end is growing at. The posterior surface lies between medial and lateral border. Over here you can see posterior surface. In the upper part it is marked by an oblique ridge over here, and below that oblique ridge there runs the radial groove or spiral groove. So spiral groove is basically lying in the posterior surface, and then it runs downward and forward, cutting the anterolateral surface like this. Okay, now talking about the lower end general features. The lower end of the humerus forms condyles which is expanded from side to side, and it has articular and non-articular part, right? So what are the articular parts? The lateral articular part at the lower end, it is called as capitulum. The literal meaning of capitulum is a small head, a little head in the Latin, and it is a rounded projection, you can see over here, right, which articulates with the head of the radius and form part of the elbow joint. Let me show you radius. See this is radius, and it has got its head disc like. So the superior surface of the head over here, this will be in contact with the capitulum, and together it forms the part of the elbow joint, okay, humeroradial articulation, like this. The trochlea, next articular surface is the trochlea. You can see a pulley like structure, okay, with concave or convex articular surface, right. The literal meaning of trochlea is pulley, right, in Greek. So it is a pulley shaped surface, and it articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna. Let me show you. See this is ulna, and this is a notch. This is called as trochlear notch, and you can see over here, this is how it articulates with the trochlear notch, okay. So that is again articular, right. Now the medial edge of this trochlea, it is not symmetrical. The medial edge is 6 mm downward as compared to the lateral edge, okay. Compare both the edges of the trochlea, right. So if you attach the trochlea with the trochlear notch like this, and if you articulate both the bones like this, okay, the alignment is not straight, right. There forms an angulation between the long axis of the arm and long axis of forearm, okay. The ulna is a bone of forearm, so there is an angulation between the long axis of arm and long axis of forearm because of the unequal shape of the trochlea, and this is called as carrying angle, the angle between long axis of arm and long axis of forearm, right. The non-articular part includes medial epicondyle. Over here you can see, right. It is a bony projection on the medial side of the lower end. It is subcutaneous, right, and it is mainly felt on the medial side of the elbow. There is a lateral epicondyle, smaller than the medial epicondyle, and it is anterolateral part is having muscular impressions over here, okay. The sharp lateral margin just above the lower end is called as lateral supracondylar ridge, that we already discussed. Similarly, we have got medial supracondylar ridge on the medial side. There are three fossas in the non-articular part. The coronoid fossa, which is situated above the trochlea, right. The radial fossa, it is situated above the capitulum, and the olecranon fossa, it is situated above in the posterior aspect above the trochlea, right. So these three fossas are related to the respective parts of the radius and ulna. So for example, if you articulate radius with the capitulum, the head of the radius will come in contact with the radial fossa in full flexion. Similarly, if you articulate the trochlea with the trochlear notch, the coronoid process, this is coronoid process of the ulna, so that will be in contact with the coronoid fossa, which is situated above the trochlea during full flexion, and similarly posteriorly the olecranon fossa will be lodging olecranon process. This is olecranon process of the ulna, right, during the act of full extension, okay. So these are the general features of the lower end of the humerus. Hope you understood well. Thanks for watching.